Payments Podcast from Bottomline Technologies.
Greetings. Welcome to the Payments Podcast. My name is John Gaffney. I'll be your host for this episode in our series that covers the trends that will make a difference in business payments in 2024. Today, we're discussing the dynamics that will drive changes in how companies pay and get paid in the next business cycle. We expect that to rival consumer payments in innovation and automation. According to Juniper research, the global transaction value of the B2B payments market in 2022 was $88 trillion, and it will spike to more than $111 trillion by 2027. Let me read a quote from that report just to set the tone for our episode today. Their analysts say that B2B payments also represent an area of enormous opportunity due to their high value and usually recurrent nature. With the pace of digitization in payments and more recently the pandemic's impact, businesses can no longer rely on legacy B2B payment methods and need to adapt to an ever-changing landscape very quickly. Now, if I had to boil that passage down to one phrase, it would be the urgency of B2B payments automation. And it's just one of the trends you'll hear about from our two guests today. First up, we have Jeff Feuerstein. He is Bottomline's US-based Senior VP of Product Management and Market Strategy and boasts more than 20 years in the payments business, having held senior leadership roles at MasterCard and American Express along the way. Welcome, Jeff.
Hey, John. Great to be here.
Good. It's good to have you. And next up, we have Colin Swain. Colin is based in our UK office. He is the head of product for Bottomline Corporate Payments Solutions. He has 15 years of experience in strategy, product design, and operations teams in a range of different companies, from tier one banks to global payment businesses through startups and retailers. Welcome, Colin.
Thanks, John. Good to be here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I'd like to start at a general level with our two guests today because you've seen the payments business through good times and bad. Seems like the next year could be a mix of both. Colin, let's start with you. What are some of the macroeconomic factors next year that will have an effect on the way companies pay and get paid?
Yeah, thanks, John. I think next year will be similar in some ways to the last 12 months in that before that, when we look at automation, we're very much focused on efficiency and reducing fraud. A lot's changed in the last 12 months. We've seen inflation increase significantly, and as a result, we've seen interest rates go up and the cost of borrowing going up as well. And that's led to a real reduction across both consumers and corporates in the amount of discretionary spend they've got. So in the context of payment automation, cash more and more is becoming an asset. Now, in theory, that should mean that CFOs can use their cash and get higher returns on all their cash investments. In practice, we think that's rarely the case. The reason for that is because actually they've got uncertainty in cash flow. So they can't really use that cash in the way they want. And actually what we see is a lot of corporates still take borrowing as a liquidity buffer because they're not certain on when their cash is coming in, particularly in a world where, as I said before, the discretionary spend for consumers and corporates is lower. So what does that all mean in terms of macro trends around payment automation? It's similar to the last 12 months in that certainty of cash flow and certainty around payments is continuing to be king.
So, Jeff, let's go over to you. If I had to make the business case for payments automation in this landscape, what does it sound like? How can it help companies if finances get tight?
Yeah, in these uncertain economic times, CFOs are certainly tightening budgets and looking for areas to generate cash flow, right? AP automation solutions power businesses with the data they need and the tools to reduce costs. First, focus on reducing pains in the AP processes, managing paper, getting the discount opportunities in your payments where you can. And then next, the opportunities to move to digitizing invoicing, streamlining approvals, turning to electronic payments, and then finding technology where you can pay to get paid, where you can turn your AP business into really a revenue center.
So, Jeff, it seems like AP automation in particular has taken its place as a cash flow management tool, not and not on its own, not as the only cash flow management tool, but it certainly seems like it's more part of cash management. Would you agree with that assessment?
For sure. Cash flow is critical. That means companies need the visibility on when they're getting paid, and they want to maximize payment terms as best they can. The foundation is data and visibility. More than ever, AP can manage that cash flow with more data on invoices coming from suppliers, and then maximize cash, taking discounts, using tools like virtual cards, premium ACH, get rebates on spend, and then holding on to payments as long as possible to extend their working capital. That way, they're generating as much cash flow as possible back to the organization.
Colin, tell us a little bit about the PTX platform that Bottomline has in the UK. And then, if you could, tell us about how accounts receivable also has a good intersection with data.
Yeah, sure, John. So in the UK, we have the PTX platform. It's one of the leading UK bank payment platforms for both credits, so driving accounts payable and also direct debits. So really supporting, as you said, John, the accounts receivable side. And as Jeff mentioned, AP teams are always looking to make the most of their cash and retain that cash. Of course, on the AR side, we're looking to actually bring that cash through the door. And it's one thing knowing how much you're owed. It's a very, very different thing to understand when you're likely to get paid. And of course, if you're going to get paid as well. So this for us is where data and, again, payment automation and things like the PTX platform can really help. Direct debits in and themselves drive automation. They drive the ability to collect funds from consumer or business accounts for the AR team. But of course, some still do fail, and they fail maybe because of available budget in the accounts. So one of the things we're working on in the PTX platform and supporting our customers is actually to give them insights on when direct debits are likely to fail, and insights around the best and earliest time to retry, actually, if a direct debit has failed, to try and collect that funds again. And if we're moving on to, we know we have industry buzzwords around AI, but areas like machine learning is really what we're putting in place for things like direct debit failure rates to really help corporates understand how to collect those funds and the best times to collect those funds as well.
So let's take this data issue one step further, if we could. As I was preparing for this interview, I considered asking a question about the use of AI in the context of payments networks. I was a little concerned we didn't do the domain of ChatGPT and generative AI. But as I read more and as I was talking to you gentlemen before this, I realized there's a practical side to AI and machine learning. So Colin, tell us a little bit about how that might fit into the PTX platform and how machine learning can fit into payments.
Yeah, sure. So I think, John, the example I just gave on the direct debit side, that's one angle, which is really learning about the different consumer bases or different business bases, when available cash is likely to be in their account, and helping our corporates to understand when to try and collect that cash as well. We also are using the same sort of technology to help things like cash forecasting as well. So not only using rules-based to say how much is a corporate owed, how much they need to send out, what's their cash positioning, but also taking in other data assets and external data and using machine learning to provide what-if scenarios and forecasting. Something really a CFO hasn't had up until this point. But given scenarios like the cost of living crisis and like COVID, those are the sort of scenarios where machine learning can really help.
So, Jeff, what's your take on AI and ML in the context of payments?
Yeah. So as a payments network, PayModeX uses tools like AI and machine learning to continue to automate processes. There's really three opportunities right in front of us. Supplier onboarding, managing cash, the way Colin explained a moment ago, and then using AI and machine learning for fraud. For supplier onboarding, we're using insights and trends to turn manual processes into automated enrollment processes, always ensuring that we're getting the right vendor, the right name, the right information, so that we can, really facilitate that onboarding process and make campaigns move smoother. In the future, we hope to use these tools for cash management. Looking at data to provide confidence on when payers will be paid, much like Colin explained with cash forecasting. And then the third piece is really that fraud element, which is using AI and machine learning to know that these are secure payments, and that we're ensuring that payments are getting to the right vendor.
Yeah, let's go a little bit further on the fraud issue here. Let's connect that to the C-suite. So in many cases, that means the CFO, if we're talking C-suite and payments. So Jeff, in addition to the macroeconomic issues discussed earlier, what are some of the other pain points you see CFOs facing in 2024?
So, in addition to the economic uncertainty we're going through right now, research continually shows that fraud and cybersecurity is a top issue amongst the C-suite. When it comes to payments, that's both internal and third-party fraud, like business email compromise and phishing attacks. PayModeX takes these issues seriously, which is why we invest so seriously in the supplier onboarding and bank account management processes. We have an unmatched track record of catching these fraudsters before it gets started, and protecting our customers from many of these elements of fraud.
So, Colin, I know you've been a little bit concerned about CFO and the data IQ, I guess I'd call it, that it takes to compete. Tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I think again, if you look at the office of the CFO, we're of course within the technology domain and support and providing products. We always look at capabilities like machine learning, and of course payment automation, and of course how data can be used to help those teams. But we're also very aware that a lot of C-suite and a lot of CFO functions still rely heavily on spreadsheets. They still rely heavily on manual processes as well. And whilst they have their place, they don't always necessarily help to drive that automation and to drive more advanced capabilities like cash forecasting and AP automation, as Jeff said as well. So I think those are areas where we do need CFOs to be more transformative in their approach. And actually, with things such as SaaS platforms, rather than actually complex software that the finance teams have to manage, as well as areas like actually banks who are opening up their capabilities through APIs for our platforms and products to use. They will enable CFOs and the office of the CFO to more readily use services and use products quickly. So looking ahead into 2024, actually more CFOs using SaaS platforms, connecting those up to their banks will really help drive automation and help drive areas such as cash position and cash forecasting as well.
So, Jeff, let's go back to you. Is there anything on the radar, any technology developments or payments innovations in the near term that corporates need to take more seriously?
I'd summarize the opportunity right now in 3 different areas. The first is the rise in the importance of treasury and cash management. We've talked a lot about cash forecasting, managing cash, especially right now in these uncertain economic times, and just the interest rate environment. Seeing payments coming in, watching payments going out, and maximizing cash flow is more important than ever. We talked a little bit about AI, and while still in the early stages, it's going to power product innovation and payment automation for years to come. And organizations have to stay on top of how AI can be used to improve processes in their organizations and inform their decision making. The last piece I just touched on is, really what's in the here and now relative to the digitization of payments. In the U.S., where 40%, more than 40% of all payments are still made on check today, the digitization of payments, capturing working capital where possible is critical, and then staying ahead with the use of real-time payments and request for pay is a huge opportunity for organizations. Today, we're seeing it in use cases like payroll and wage acceleration, but the use of real-time and disbursements and vendor payments, I think, has a long way to go, and certainly an opportunity for this market.
Yeah, there's definitely some new use cases to be considered. That's for sure. So I'd like to end up with something a little bit different here. Let's say that you guys were placed into the CFO office at one of your biggest clients, right? How would you counsel them, or how would you invest your payments budget in 2024? What are some of the key areas you would invest in? Jeff, let's stay with you on that first.
Yeah, the real opportunity today in this environment is with AP automation. Having a robust payment strategy that's solved with virtual cards, with premium ACH, with other working capital solutions to really maximize your organization's cash flow in this economic environment is critical. Leverage tools through partners like embedded finance, where you can improve the processes for your employees, letting them work effectively, using solutions, meeting them where they are is really critical. So, for 2024, focusing on improving your bottom line and providing robust AP automation solutions, I think, is critical.
Okay, Colin, you're CFO of Company X. Where are you going to spend your money?
Yeah, John, I think actually I'll go back to a conversation I had with a CFO a couple of years back now, and he always spoke about his setup, which was, he called it a patchwork of technologies, which they ran in their finance team. So I take that and just say, actually, you want to really embrace payment automation. You really want to embrace things like machine learning. You really want to embrace cash forecasting. Well, to do all of that, you've got to connect the dots of all your technology parts. So that would be where I invest, is really building out and investing in a platform that allows you to connect the dots for cash and payments across your finance team.
Okay, excellent. That's a wrap for this episode of the Payments Podcast. We've been talking about trends for 2024. I've had two guests today. I'd like to thank them both. Jeff Feuerstein, again, is the Bottomline's US-based Senior VP of Product Management and Market Strategy. Jeff, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, John. This was great.
And Colin Swain is the head of product for Bottomline's Corporate Payment Solutions based in London. Thank you very much, Colin, for joining us.
Thanks, John.
Please join us next time wherever you get your podcasts. We are on Apple, Spotify, and SoundCloud. See you next time.
The Payments Podcast from Bottomline Technologies.